What's up guys, I'm Black Ops Amazing, welcome back to another video on the channel. Now we learn in Shattered Vale that Richtofen cloned his son, Samuel, after he was killed by Weaver and Samantha, burning in a house fire alongside his mother. Richtofen, wanting to bring his dead son back, using a sample of his DNA, attempted to clone him. And it was successful. You kind of could have guessed all the way back in November that this was what Richtofen was attempting to do, because we know one of the many experiments the scientists at the Terminus Island facility were doing was cloning. That was a project that Richtofen specifically was very interested in, not his Project Janice board of directors. Him, and so putting the two together, Richtofen's son is dead, Richtofen is interested in cloning. It was likely he was attempting to bring his son back via that method. Whether or not it worked, well, considering we knew he was hunting the Sentinel artifact, and one of its powers is that it can manipulate prime materia to reconstruct a functioning human body, which is exactly what Sam is planning to do, take Samantha Maxis's body for herself, but that's also what Richtofen is planning to do with it. But that's only because his first plan to make clones of his wife and son failed, causing him to resort to that. But cloning was the first thing he attempted. And well, if we go back to Terminus now, knowing this is what Richtofen did, it kind of gives us a bit of a different perspective on the storyline. So taking it back to where it all started and then building up the story, like I said, we know Richtofen's wife and son were killed by Weaver and Samantha in a house fire, and because Richtofen seemingly couldn't cope with the grief, he was trying to find ways of bringing them back, and one of the first things he thought of was cloning. And so he hired one of the top specialists in this field, Dr. Modi, and then using his Project Janice funding, set up a secret island facility in the middle of the Philippine Sea, and told Modi, look, as a front, you need to work on all of these other projects on the island, such as energy research, but the main thing I want you to focus on, the main reason I employed you, is cloning and physical mutations. Even though Modi's background was controversial, to say the least, she had been called out for torturing people in her experiments, but to Richtofen, this was a good thing because it meant that she was dedicated in her work. She would go to whatever length was necessary to bring success, and told her that he will provide her with everything that she needs, the funding, people to use in her experiments, and the equipment. But with all of this, he expected her to deliver by any means necessary. If it meant killing 1,000 people, if it meant using millions of dollars, she was to achieve the goals he set for her. And what that was, to regrow a complete and functioning human body from a single DNA sample.
And to conclude our island tour, we have your atrium lab. So, what do you think?
It's an ideal space. Very Spartan at the moment. I assume the regulatory parties have not made their pass yet. Once they've made their structural safety recommendations, I will, of course...
Dr. Modi, I would never waste your valuable time with such trivial matters. This is your island. I trust you to make it your own. Now, energy and weapons will pacify the backers, but I chose this with your biological experiments in mind.
That part of my portfolio is considered controversial. Many have called it torture.
We are a rare breed, my dear doctor. You and I both know the price of true progress. It is that work which brought you to me. I will not allow you to be shackled by idealistic bureaucrats. In return, I expect you to deliver by any means necessary.
That won't be a problem.
Ah, good. Then we understand each other. Welcome to your new home.
Richtofen cut down all of the red tape. The oversight committee only wanted her to use animals in her experiments, but they knew human test trials was what was really needed to make progress.
My reverence for Richtofen continues to grow. Before even setting foot on this island, he understood my needs. The Oversight Committee wanted to constrain my work to animal models. Idiots. Who were they to obstruct my vision? Human in vivo trial was the next logical step. Luckily, Edward believed in the merit of my work. He authorized the procurement of my subjects himself from channels that no one in the world will miss. The island location is ideal for this work. The waters offer a steady flow of forgettable faces. He circumvented any moral concerns by reminding them what we would be denying the world by not doing so. It was masterful. And if anything, I'll give these people a chance to do something noble with their lives. Not that they're owed anything. I'll show my gratitude by delivering what I promised. I can make the advances I know are possible in record time now.
Anyway, at some point once the island had been fully set up and operational, Richtofen tasked Modi with a project for him, to clone his son. Giving her a single DNA sample, he wanted her to regrow a complete human body. Whether or not he told her this was his son's DNA, we don't know. Whether or not she knew she was going to clone Edward's son specifically, I'm not sure. But either way, she was successful. Through her trials, she discovered that humans don't tolerate therium exposure without certain variables, and that there are more than just genetic markers at play. It had something to do with the psyche. But still, Modi had managed to successfully clone Richtofen's son, bringing him back from the dead.
With so much red tape cut down, I may have become a victim of my own success. We've gone through so many test subjects already. Franco is about to be a very wealthy man, given our demand. It's clear now that humans don't tolerate Ethereum exposure without certain variables. There's more than genetic markers at play. It's something in the psyche we have yet to pin down. I'm not sure if even Strauss knows. I trust Duffer to determine that soon. The projects with the most progress are the physical mutations. The transformations are unsightly, but subjects exhibit superhuman strength and become more tolerant to Ethereum. These primitive forms have even begun to show signs of advanced sentience. If we can get them to follow orders, we're in business. I have no doubt we can synthesize a refined humanoid to protect humanity from any existential threat. And when I get us there, I'll never see red tape again.
Shortly after his son's resurrection, Richtofen began to notice that there were issues. He saw this clone of his son's skin was thin and pale, quickly realizing that it didn't exactly look how he remembered his son. It was him based off his DNA, but it didn't look like him. This clone looked fragile and weak. It wasn't what Richtofen expected when he first tasked Modi with doing this. He just thought this was a way of bringing the boy he knew back to life. Anyway, over the coming weeks as Richtofen continued to monitor him, every time he visited, it only brought him more pain because his condition continued to worsen. Samuel's blood vessels began to hemorrhage, his muscles and tissue were rupturing, and after 14 days of him existing, he was no longer recognizable as human, leaving Richtofen no other choice but to have his cloned son euthanized.
Edward Rtophen, Project Janice, Cloning Clinical Study Report. Addendum, December 23rd, 1987. Not now, not so. Do not look at me with those big brown eyes. You cannot possibly know how I feel. Do you feel like a failure? No. I am the failure. When my son died, I was not there. I did not see the body. When Modi told me the new clone experiment had been successful, I was eager to see him for myself. That was foolish of me. His skin was thin, pale, sallow, but I still clung to hope. But this fragile vessel soon became a mere shadow of the boy. The soul I had hoped for, but still I needed to be with him, the way I was not there for Sammy. Over the coming weeks, every visit to the nursery brought more pain for both of us. His blood vessels began hemorrhaging. His muscles and tissue were rupturing. After 14 days, he was no longer even recognizable as human. It became clear that euthanasia would be a mercy, and I gave the order. I do not know what to do next. Perhaps Modi's biotechnology is not the right way to proceed. We are running low on DNA samples. I miss you so much, my son. Since my current projects are not bearing fruit, I may need something a little more esoteric. Perhaps it is time to talk to my own father and take his methodology more seriously.
After this failure and not having many of his son's DNA samples left, Edward wrote to Modi saying, "I hired you to accomplish one mission above all, the regrowth of a complete and functioning human from a single DNA sample. Why, despite all of the resources and test subjects I provided, why have you failed to deliver on that goal? My patience has limits." Feeling that this would never work, Richtofen then turned to his father, Gabriel Kraft, seeking other methods. So one of the first things Richtofen did in his goal of bringing back his family was he cloned his son, and it was successful to a certain extent, but this clone of him quickly deteriorated to the point where he had him euthanized. And this reminded me, it's a funny coincidence because literally a week or two ago, before this information came out, I made a video about how the Ultimus version of Richtofen in the old timeline was also conducting cloning experiments. He cloned Dempsey, Takio, and Nikolai, as you can see here, in the Siberian facility. In the old storyline, Ultimus Richtofen was conducting cloning experiments, and now we have Richtofen in this new timeline also conducting cloning experiments, or having someone do it for him. He was previously cloning Nikolai, Takio, and Dempsey, and in this new story, this Richtofen cloned his son. So yeah, I just thought this was an interesting piece of storyline. Will he be more successful with the central artifact and manipulating prime materia? Will that method allow him to bring his wife and son back from the dead? Only time will tell. But yeah, there we go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hopefully you've enjoyed the video today. If you have, drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.